So earlier we had a look at a few CSS properties. Now let's have a look at a few more of them. The first one which we are going to look now is border. So border we have used definitely many times before, but now let's take a deep dive into it, what it is. So it sets a some any elements border. Now it's a shortcut for border width, border style, and border color, which means that, as we will see later, that the border has three parts: width, style, and color. Color, obviously we can understand with what is the color of the border. Width, what is the thickness of the border. Style means what type of border it is, whether it is solid line or dashed line or dotted line, like that. And as you can see, I have highlighted it in a different color, which means that we can separately set these things also, but we'll see that later. Right now we'll try just the shortcut border property, so that we can set all of them using a single property, border. So I'll show you an example. So right now we just have a hello world written with color red, so something like this. It's plain and simple. Now let's try to add some border to it. So border, and then we write thickness of it. So let's say 1 pixel, and then what is the style, what type of those solid, dotted, those things we can write, and then what is the color. So let's say blue, and when we refresh, then we see that there is border around it, right? The first thing you will see that this border is around this div, which means that if we change the height of this div, let's say to some 80 pixel, then the div has become of height 80 pixel, and that's why the border will be around that whole thing. So its height is changed. Next, we'll see that we can change each of these things. So let's say I make it 5 pixel, then it will be thicker. Okay. I can change the border of the color to, let's say, purple, and I can change this solid to something like dashed or something. So now it is dashed. There is another type called dotted, and a few more. You can look it up, but these are the very common ones: dash, dotted, and solid. Okay. So now you have understood how the basic thing works. So as we discussed, the syntax is simply like this. Next thing I wanted to highlight, that the order of these values does not matter, which means that you can write something like solid red 1 pixel or 1 pixel red solid, does not matter. Why? Because from the values only CSS knows that what you are trying to say. So if you say let's say dotted 2 pixel, and this thing is like in the middle or red, so CSS knows that this pixel can only be width, nothing else, right? And this color, whatever you write, so it knows that it is a color type, so it will apply it as a color, and these are the specific values only possible. So something like dotted, solid, these things, dashed, so it knows that what values you are using in any order, it will decipher that and apply it accordingly. So as you can see, still it works. Solid I am putting here, or rather let's say I put in the end, it does not matter. Okay. Now one important thing to note is that not only these things, all these properties are interchangeable, these are optional also, which means that, let's say I don't want to so this is, let's say, 5 pixel I have given, right? 5 pixel I have given, so this is this much thick, right? Let's say I don't give any width. If I don't give any width, then also it will by default take some width, like around 1 pixel or 2 pixel it will take, right? So in that sense, everything is not compulsory. Other thing you can do is that, let's say I don't have this color also, I have just style, then by default again it will take color of whatever the current color is there. So current color of the text is red, so it will take a red, which means that if I change this to blue, then as soon as the text changes, the border color also changes. So this is what I was saying. But one important thing to note here is that everything is optional except the border style. So border style, you have to put something, either dash, solid, dotted, whatever. Why? Because if you simply say, let's say red and 5 pixel, then what happens is that, see, it is not visible, the border is not visible. Why? Because actually red border with 5 pixel it is trying to, but what is the border style? Border style is by default none, and if it is by default none, which means that it will not be visible. So as I was mentioning here, that the default value of border style is none, so it is required. Other things are not required. So if, let's say, the color you don't give, then the border color is by default current color, that is fine. If you don't give this width, then also it takes some default width of few pixels. But the point is that this is the only thing which is needed. So at least you should specify style. So even if you don't specify this thing, but style has to be there. If style is there at least, then it will be working fine. So at least border and then some style has to be there. Now apart from that, I wanted to mention one more thing, that this border is like setting all the four sides of the border. However, you can do something like this, that let's say I want 1 pixel solid red, but I don't want it all four sides. I just want, let's say, I just want border bottom. So there is a property border bottom, where if you write like that, then it will not apply to the all four sides, it will just apply to the bottom border. So if you refresh, then you will get just a bottom part of the border, and the rest like you have not configured, so it is not visible, right? Which means that if you do something like this, this is whole thing, but you can override this again by doing something like this, that let's say I say that bottom border is purple, and let's say it is 5 pixel. Now you understand what is happening. Initially I said that all the four borders are this, then I say that border bottom is this. Okay, so this thing will overwrite. So you see that this thing border bottom is overwritten. So all the other three sides are still as per the border property, but this thing specifically overrides the border bottom. What about this? If I move this thing above, so firstly I set border bottom, okay, something, and then I set all the four sides, what is going to happen? See, as expected, that thing, whatever border bottom was set, that is overwritten by all these four sides, which means that now all the four sides are dictated by the style which you gave just now. Okay, so so definitely these things I just mentioned border bottom, you can in a similar manner just specifically use border top, border right, border left to target each one of the specific sides of the border. One more thing I wanted to highlight is that just some time before I mentioned that let's say you can target these width by space. So let's say I don't write here, right? Then by default some width will be given by browser because I have not specified anything. But I can again target that by, as I mentioned, by border width, right? Now border width is, let's say, 5 pixel. Now what is happening? See, this thing by default set a red solid border with some default browser what it is trying to give the border width. But after that I have specifically told that border width is 5 pixel. Then it is going to set this whole thing as 5 pixel. You understand? Not only that, even if I would have specified here 2 pixel, or let's say here I would have specified 10 pixel. So if I comment this, then you see that earlier it was 10 pixel, everything is, every side is 10 pixel, and after that I override it with 5 pixel, which means that again it will become lessen or whatever, less or more, whatever you said. So whatever you write last, that thing is going to be final output in the browser. Okay, now let me show you something different. So what do you think is going to happen if I do something like this? Let's say I remove this thing. So if this thing is there, then you understand what is it. If this thing I move above, if this thing I move above and then I refresh, now right now it is 5 pixel. If I refresh, see, everything becomes 10 pixel. Why? Because this thing now overwritten everything. What do you think is going to happen if I remove width from here? Which means that border width I have set from here, but after that for all the four sides I am just setting the style and color, right? What do you think? And let's make it thicker to show it properly, that I'm properly setting it 10 pixel, and then I am setting its style and color. See, it's gone, which means that by default whatever the browser once thickness was there, that is coming here rather than 10 pixel. What does this show us? This is an important point to remember, is that even if this is important, even if you are not setting a particular property value explicitly, the default value is set if you run through this line. You understand? So earlier border width was set to 10 pixel, and now border is, let's say, shortcut for style, color and width. And style, color you gave, and let's say width you did not give. It does not mean that width is still earlier. I did not set it. You set it. If you go through this declaration, then by default it sets this to solid, style to solid, color to red, and it also, even if you have not given, it sets this declaration, this CSS declaration line will set width to, you have not given. So you have not given, then it will set to by default. If you would have given here 5 pixel, 2 pixel, then it is fine. Otherwise, even if you are not given, it will still set it to the browser default, which means that this is gone. Which means that if we are aware of this, then we know that this, in order to make this work, you have to put it after this, and then things will work fine. This is important. In not only in border, actually this happens in all the other which later we'll see some more shortcut properties, which means that what are shortcut properties? Shortcut properties are using one thing only, one property only. We can set multiple properties at once. That is shortcut, right? So in all the shortcut properties, the same thing, same behavior we'll see, that even if you don't set something specifically for that property, those default values will be applied, and it's not that whatever is earlier mentioned that will retain. Okay, and we'll see examples of like border is a shortcut for border width, border style, border color. Similarly, there is something called background. So that background will be let's say a shortcut for background color, background image. So these things, so we'll see that later, but in that sense background is also a shortcut, and that behavior will apply there also. Okay, let's come back to this thing. Now we are just going to see in deep specifically what are these things. So obviously border is a shortcut for all of them, but then you can target these separately also. So obviously we mentioned that border bottom you are using, you can similarly use border top, border right, left, that is fine. Let's come to border style. It sets, as we mentioned, it sets the style of the line of the border on all the four sides. Okay, so if I say border style is solid, which means that all the four sides are solid. So you mean let's say I put here 2 pixel and dashed, let's say dashed, let's comment this. So obviously dashed border, all four sides came. Now this is my point which I am making, is that I can now set border style specifically to solid, and again this will override, okay, as expected. So we can set specifically border styles in this way, and again you can have other values like dash, dotted, etc. The default value is none, as we mentioned earlier, and that's why it was compulsory to be given, because by default if you don't give it, then by default there is no style, which means that it will be invisible. Okay, apart from that, we can set the values of all the sides separately also. Okay, now there are this is confusing, that now there are we can set one value. Obviously we saw we can set, now there are two values, three values, four values. What are these values? the point is that these are of various sides, which means that border style solid, if you simply write, then it means that apply the solid style to all the four sides of the browser, of the border, right? However, if we give four styles, then these four styles will be applied to all the four sides. So you can use different for different sides. Now, what is the ordering? The ordering is that let's take the simple case that four values are given, which means that four values for four sides. The ordering is that the first one starts with top and then we go clockwise, which means that top one will be solid, right one will be right border, right side of the border will be dashed, and let's say bottom I am saying none, which means I don't want to show it, and then left side will be dotted. You understand? So let's try it out. So right now I see that everything is same, but right now I don't want that. Let's say I want the right one to be none, bottom one to be, let's say, dashed, and then left one to be dotted. And let's make it slightly thicker to see it properly. So 5 pixel border width I have changed. So now you see top one is solid, right one is disappeared because I set it to none. Bottom one, the third one is bottom one. Bottom one will be dashed as we have given, and left one is dotted. Okay. Okay. Now we have understood the four values. Now you have to understand this three values and two values part. And this is very important because not only in border style, in many places wherever we have this sort of syntax for multi-valued, like you can use one value, two value, three value, or four value, all the places where this syntax applies, everywhere the rule is same, and that's why it is important to pay attention at this point of time. The rule is that if one value is there, it's pretty straightforward. All the four sides are like same this thing, and if four values, then also it is simple that the top one is this, and then clockwise, right, bottom, left. Now comes the interesting part. What does this two value means? Two values mean that the first value is top and bottom, and the second value is right and left. Understand? So if I simply have solid and dotted, or solid and dashed, whatever, then we will see that top and bottom are solid and left and right are dashed. Okay, so that is the meaning. What about three values? Three values means this one, the first one is top, the last one is bottom, and the middle one is left, right. Okay, so in a similar manner, if I put none here, which means that top is solid, remove the bottom border, and left and right is still dashed. So three values means this. So you can see this, that the bottom has disappeared and left and right are given by the middle value, which is dashed. The same rule will apply at many other places we will see, but this is important to remember, and that's why I will specifically list down this rule in the next page. For now, I just wanted to highlight this point also, that in a similar manner we can target like this is a shortcut, right? Border style, if I write one value or three value to four values, whatever, this is a shortcut for all the four sides, setting it from a single property. Again, you may not want to use this. You can specifically target each of the specific sides separately, which means that border top style, border bottom style, separately you can say. And in the same way, if you let's say I set border style as dashed, so let's say this, so let's say it is dotted, and let's say it is solid. Okay, and let's say this thing was not there, then obviously everything will be solid. And now you see that border style is dashed. So you see everything is dashed. Now you can specifically target just let's say border bottom style. So what I was mentioning, border top style, right style, left style. So similarly, you can target a specific side, let's say border bottom style, and you can set that to something else, let's say dotted. Then what will happen is that this thing overridden all the four sides, and then one particular side you are saying it is dotted. So you see the rest three sides are dashed, and only the bottom part of the border is dotted. And again, let's say you would have removed this, then what would have happened? I am saying that all the four sides are solid as per this thing, this declaration. And then I am saying that but the bottom style has to be set to dotted. So again, rest of the three sides are solid, given by the border property, and this thing is specifically set by border bottom style. Okay. So it should be pretty straightforward. Now let's come back to that thing which I was mentioning. So let's properly highlight that if one value is specified in border style, or we'll see at later places also, in any such situation, if one value is specified, all the four sides, two values specified, then first value, two values specified, let's say border style, okay, two values specified, then first one is top down, second one is right left. So the first value is top and bottom, and the second one is left and right. Three values, this is important, three values, the first one is top, the last one, the third one is bottom, and the middle one is left and right, as we saw earlier. And four values, it is like pretty straightforward, all the four values. Just you have to remember that the starting value is starting from the top, which means that the first value will be top, and then from there we have to go clockwise, top, right, bottom, and then left. That is how it works. Okay. Now let's come back to width. Width already we set many times. The point is that we are trying to set the width of the thickness of the border, which means that you can set width, border width is equal to 5 pixel. So like border style we are saying, we can also set border width, right? So even if I am putting 5 pixel here, let's say if I put 1 pixel here, then the whole thing is going to be very thin, because now the thickness is dictated by border width. 1 pixel, 5 pixel, 10 pixel, anything you can put. However, there are some shortcut values also. So thin, thick, medium. So I believe thin will be like 1 pixel only. Let's see. Yeah, it's like 1 pixel only. And then there is thick, which will be like 4 or 5 pixel, I believe. And then there is something called medium, which I believe will be around 2-3 pixel or something, around 3 pixel it looks like. So whatever. So the point is that if you don't want to go to pixel perfection, then you can use just these values, thin, thick, whatever. But if you exactly want to control the exact width of the thing, then you can control it by pixel or whatever, 0.5 rem. So you can give it like 1 rem or something. And if you don't know, these values can be decimals also, which means that I can very much give 0.25 rem. Okay, so don't think that all these values are always integer. These things can be decimals also. Okay, so we already saw that we can provide a single value for the width for all the four sides. However, we can again here also set something like this: 3 values, 2 values, 4 values. Now here I'll not go into that much detail, because now you already know border width 4 values, which means that we are trying to set 4 widths of separate sides. 4 values which means what? This top width is 2 pixel, right is thin, bottom is thick, left is 0. You understand? 2 means top and bottom is 2 pixel, right and left is thin, and 3 values we know, like middle one is left and right, and 2 pixel is top, and 3 and this thick thing is bottom. So you understand. So I will not go into those details, that how to use, and again this will come repeatedly at many properties, that what do these 2 values, 3 values, and 4 values mean. One value is straightforward. Just to mention that for 0 you can ignore the units, because 0 pixel or 0 rem, 0 em, all those things does not matter. 0 is 0. And again, in case of border width also, again you can target specific sides of the border, like previous properties, by these values: border top, width, border bottom width again, and if you as the I mentioned earlier that you can specify it at proper place and it will take its effect accordingly. So if you specify border width is equal to something like this, and this is automatically says that what should be top, bottom, left, right, and after that let's say you write border bottom width something else, then this thing will take more priority, obvious, right? Let's come back to border color. Border color again, it simply sets the color of the border. Border color is red, all the four sides are red, and again this is obvious now, obviously, that we can set all the four sides of the color separately also, right? We can pretty much use any color data type, which means that it can be a simple keyword, it can be like hex code values, shortcut hex code, long hex code, with opacity, without opacity, everything is fine. And obviously RGB or RGB with opacity, any sort of valid color, any CSS valid color you can put in these places wherever you want to use one color, two color, three color, or four color, anywhere. And again, we can use this to target specific sides of the border again. So let's take an example for that. So let's say border whatever, let's say right now, let's say 5 pixel I'm setting and everything is red, but let's say I don't set color here at all, and I specifically set border color separately. So let's say border color separately, and I say that, you know what, I need top to be red but bottom to be purple, and let's say left right should be let's say green, whatever, and we'll remove this for now. Okay, so we saw that there will be border 5 pixel solid, and the colors will be dictated by top will be red, bottom will be purple, and other two green. So you can see other two left and right are green, top red, bottom. Now again, what I was mentioning here, that you can target specific sides by these things. So let's say border left color, you can again set it. The border left is right now given by the this declaration. Now you can again write border left color is let's say blue. Okay, then you can see that now it will become blue. It has become blue. Okay, so that should be fine. That covers most of the part of the border. Anything related to border we have discussed right now.